Hi guys, welcome to our first video about worm farming. We're going to be unboxing the Worm Factory 360 today. We're very excited. So I've done a lot of composting in Africa where I have tons of space outside, but since moving to North America, I've been in apartments. So that's why we went with the Worm Farm 360, trying to find something that we can use inside that doesn't smell, that's small, and that's easy. So the Worm Factory 360 had a lot of good reviews online, and that's what we'll be unboxing today. So James already opened the box upside down. It comes with a booklet and tons of stuff included that makes it really easy for you to get started. So we're gonna do this from the bottom up. Comes with a worm ladder, and this is so that if any of your worms fall down through the system, they can crawl up back on the sides. And the full name of this thing is actually a self-sorting upward migration system. So that's how it works. Once the worms have eaten what's downstairs, they will make their way up. It comes with the collection base and 4 stacking trays. We'll only be setting up 1 tray today because we have worms coming this week, and they're going to be the first worms obviously going into the system, and they need time to settle in and make their way through the scraps that we'll be feeding them. And we're only 2 people, so we're not going to be filling these bins very quickly. They make it really easy for you. That's another reason we went with the Worm Farm 360. They give you everything you need to get started. In here we have coir, which you need for your bedding mixture. This makes it really easy for the worms to move around and to get settled in the bed. It's also a slightly aerated material, so it makes it easy for them to get around to where they need to be. You want them to move through the whole bin. They give you shredded paper. America's good in that way. You don't need to cut your own paper. And then we have the pumice stone, which aerates your soil, makes sure that the worms can breathe and that the mixture doesn't get bogged down with a bunch of moisture and becomes too wet. They also give you some rock dust, which includes a lot of trace elements to keep your worms healthy and to help them burrow. There's so much about trace elements in soil that we don't understand yet, and that is why we're composting as well, to really give food a better range of nutrients than they would get with artificial fertilizer. The Worm Factory 360 also comes with a couple of cool tools. So this is called the scraper, this is called the sorter, and it also comes with a thermometer. This is not always included, but it's cool if you get it. It's very important to keep your soil at the right temperature to keep your worms happy and healthy, and also at the right humidity so that they don't drown, but also that they don't dry out. This is called the cultivator, and you'll be using this later on in the process when you have your bed set up and you want to mix your worms around and just kind of get in there and make sure that everything is healthy and happy. And then all that's left are the stacking trays. Like I said, it comes with 4, so we'll be putting 3 away in storage and just setting up the first one today. So that's everything in the box. And what we'll be doing next is preparing the bedding for our first set of worms that are coming later in the week. So to get started, you take your coir mixture, We're going to mix half of this with half of the shredded paper, a tablespoon of the rock dust, and half a bag of the pumice stones. So half and a tablespoon. I'd say that's about half. And then half of this, it comes like pretty clumped, so you just want to spread it out a bit to make sure that it doesn't capture too much moisture. And there's actually way more paper than coir, which is tough because the paper is going to absorb a bit more water. So I'd say that's enough. And then we get to our stones. And the rock dust. Before I add these, I'm going to add in the water to kind of see what the mixture does. They don't tell you how much water you should add, but it gives you a cool method to test how wet this is. So it should be slightly moisturized, like your face. So I'm just going to add this to get started. This is 2 cups of water. I've added about half, and I'm just going to mix that around. It's still pretty dry. So I've mixed half of the coir with half of the cut newspaper. Initially, I thought that the newspaper was too much, but it really soaked up the water very quickly. So there's about half of each left. I added 2 cups of water for that, and then this is what the mixture looks like. Once you've done that, you're gonna add half your bag of pumice stones, or I guess that's an oxymoron, your bag of pumice. And I would mix that in first before you add your rock dust, otherwise it's gonna clump, and you want everything mixed really well. I mean, it's not rocket science, but you don't want your worms to get stuck. And now I'm gonna add the tablespoon of rock dust. I'm gonna sprinkle that. And we'll look more into why the minerals and trace elements are so important. But like I said, there's really a lot of this science that we haven't been able to explain yet, or at least not explain in normal people words. Okay, so that's our mixture set up. It looks like that. I'm just gonna put it off to the side, and we can get rid of this for now, because that's when you drain your mixture and when you want to capture that tea. This just goes right under the tap to catch anything that might get messy. Something I forgot to say is the way to test this is when you squeeze it, you really just want a couple of drops of water to come out to make sure that it's not too wet. Okay, so that's done, and now we can set up our tray. This is the first one that's going to go into the base, or on top of the base, I should say. And then on your very first tray, you're going to put newspaper at the bottom. you'll see that the trays have, it's like a sieve, they have holes in them, and this is what's going to allow the moisture to drain down. But as you keep stacking, that's what allows the worms to come up. That's another reason you don't want your mixture to be too wet, because when you start scraping the compost off the bottom, if it's too wet, it's really going to get stuck in the holes and just make a mess. So on the first round, we're going to put newspaper. And obviously this is the bottom layer, and this is just going to keep the worms from not falling through. I don't know if worms actually eat newspaper. I do think that they do. And so eventually they might just eat this and fall through. We'll see how it goes. So we've got the newspaper in the base of the tray. You can do 1 or 2 layers, it doesn't really matter, whatever feels good. And now all we have to do is add the bedding to the tray. So I've also let this sit a bit just because it is winter, it's almost winter, so it is drier inside. I just wanted the mixture to dry out a bit. And so the test you do to see if this is wet or dry enough is if you squeeze it, like 1 or 2 drops of water should come out, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less, and that's all you need. So what we'll do next is just add this to the tray. Get everything in there. Probably don't want nails when you're doing this. And I'm just spreading it out, trying to keep the depth or the thickness of the layer as even as possible, and any clumps that you see because of the newspaper, just kind of work them out with your fingers, and that's it. It's done. So now we're going to close it up, and in the next video we'll show you the worms we got and adding them to your bed.